Hello everybody, my name is Dong-Sun Lim. I'm a professor of Department of Economics, Dongi University, Busan in South Korea. We're going to talk about COVID-19 and environment. COVID-19 is pretty much new monster on the block, but it is heavily involved with environment. My discussion today to share with you is about pandemic and environment, human animal health, and then we're going to talk about COVID-19 and its impact, especially on economic and environment. But finally, I'm going to give you and try to share some of the lessons, what we have to do and what kind of lessons we learned. You know very well COVID, which is nagging problem, but today my lecture start with why COVID-19 matters, especially to environment. The first one is environment is basically decide and then influence an integral component of human and animal health. And COVID-19, a type of pandemic, impacts both on the environment health, obviously, which is pretty much special. COVID-19 is the first pandemic in history to be caused by a coronavirus, and then it is obviously a global health change, firstly, in 21st century. Third one is COVID-19, there is no border. It spreads to regional countries and nowadays affecting all of the world in the earth. And then the COVID-19, which had huge impacts on both aspects of human activity as well as on the economy and healthcare systems. That's because of lockdowns. You experienced a lot, and quarantines and border closures. Those lockdowns have led to reductions in economic activity, and probably, and obviously so far, air pollution as well as other kind of pollution materials through decreased consumption, restaurant travel and production things so on. So still we have some kind of positive kind of environmental benefit, but those benefits probably likely temporarily, but still may serve as an example that change in our way of life, such as less wasteful consumption and production, and then usefulness of travel reducing measures, such like your favorite SNS or teleconferencing, things like that. And this is a very nice figure, which I got cited from UNEP FactSet this year. It tells about the environment, human, animal, and pandemic. They closely interrelated. Human and animal share environment together. And then we share medicines and close intervention amongst ourselves. I mean animals and then ecosystem and human beings. And thirdly, we have a very close relationship within a food chain system, things like that. And this is another good capturing figures about our economic and social activity and coronavirus. If you look at this larger box on here, let's say it is natural environment or ecosystem, probably the earth. And this round one is our social and economic activities sphere. And within this sphere, we extract raw material from our ecosystem, or so to speak, the earth, and we produce and we consume, but inevitably we have some kind of byproduct or waste or something something like that. And then we have to emit all those waste and traces on here. But now, a new monster, which is called COVID-19, so this system, it affects not only within our social economic sphere, but also the natural environment together. That is the core relationship between COVID-19 and the environment and the human beings and animals. I would like to show two big challenges since we are talking about COVID-19 and the environment. The first one is economic challenges. The other one is environmental challenges. The economic challenges stemming from COVID-19 is basically start with lockdown and restriction worldwide level. It's some kind of challenging combination of supply and demand shock and simple economic problems. The supply shock, you know that, it is because of international constraint on economic activity, like restaurants, shopping malls in most countries, factories, or game playing room. You guys who are listening to me, is closed down and to prevent the spread of the virus. And then to some small extent, those closing down can be compensated by greater e-businesses like your delivering system. And then some medical equipment and services increased. But however, on the whole, the substantial constraint over supply side aspect, obviously. The other side is demand side. Demand side problem starts from consumers' income. The consumers' income actually from the workplace, but there are a lot of unemployment because of closing down. For example, in US, the unemployment rate is more than 10 times than Lehman Brothers, which is a global financial crisis year 2008, so which is big one. Let's summarize a little bit. The direct impact on the economy basically depends on duration of lockdowns. It's depending on how long it will continue, the COVID continue, when we will get over this kind of problem. The other thing is indirect impact of this crisis in economic sense is depending on shape of the recovery. What kind of recovery is possible? I can give you some little, picture. So one way is, for example, this is time, and this is our economy. After COVID, we locked down, then closed quarantines. We closed like this, but somehow we recover. One way is to recover like this way. It is called V-shaped. The other way is maybe we endure a little bit more and we recover a bit. The third one, which is pretty much a gloomy one in terms of recovering the economy, is so we slowing down and we stay for a long time, which is the worst scenario we can even think about. And next. And then I'll present three pictures and figures about economic slowing down. The first one is the shape of global population under containment measure. For example, when the COVID-19 started, early January and February, less than 20% is closed down. But now, after mid-March this year, it's almost 100%. And the next figure, almost all the country got influenced, especially Italy, France, Germany, UK, which is all European countries. They got huge impact. Even just 1 month closing down in terms of annual GDP, such country as Italy is expected to get more than 4% economic growth. I mean downturn of economy. And Korea is less than say 2.8%. India, China is less than the other countries because their industrial structure and their way of production and consumption system. The final figure I want to show you about COVID-19 and economic challenge is energy demand. Energy is one of the most and fundamental material we use. We cannot live without energy. The energy demand, historically and statistically speaking, some big events like late 30s, Great Depression, mid-40s, World War II, and even 1979 and 80 second oil shock, which is a huge impact on all of the global economy. But financial crisis, I say, year 2007 to 8. But now, COVID-19, the negative effect on the economy is much bigger than the other, some biggest so-called historical event. So we have to be prepared very well. Next one is environmental challenges. Someone say the air is getting better and better. The water is good. Sometimes some like Venice in Italy, we can find some kind of dolphins since the water is much better. I agree. The economic downturn brings some good environment, and that good environmental quality generate wide societal benefits, definitely. I mean, some prevailing assumption is COVID-19, which is good for the environment. As knockdown and major teleworking things, less contacting things, which inevitably reduce CO2 emission and improve environmental qualities. As you already witnessed, the energy demand is dramatically declined, especially the first quarter of the year 2020, which bring a major drop in global CO2 emission, and which cannot be comparable to any other event in history. And the decline is set to almost twice as well as previous any kind of decline. So basically, which is good for environment for the time being, but it will last. I don't want to say it will last. The good environment will last. Why? There is very little loan on the long-term consequences of crisis on the environment, especially you seriously consider the way of life. The climate change effect is still persisting everywhere and will continue to affect agricultural and people's livelihood and everywhere. And wide range of stimulus measures, policies from all over the world to reinvigorate the economic growth, then our currently enjoyable environmental gains could even be reversed once full-scale recovery begins. And the other one is the environmental aggravation problem after recovery, which is pretty much depending on recovery package and policy deals. As a reduced CO2 emission and other environmental benefit may have continued to rise again. And I would like to finalize my lecture to my honorable young and next generation. I would like to say two things. First one is what we learned from this COVID-19 crisis. Second one is I would like to suggest some kind of point and things to be done. The first one is what is learned? What we learned? COVID-19 is basically heavily involved with the environmental damage. Lockdowns probably ease the environmental problem, but if we do not prepare very well, it will come up again. So, which environmental damage basically driven by human activities such as economic activity, consumption, movement, entertaining, you guys playing game in peace room or using electricity, anything. So I don't want to say you should not do that, but you have to do it very efficiently and very smartly. Second one is the pandemic itself revealed the future of nature and human activity very closely intervened, and it inactively calling for new understanding a new relationship between nature and then human beings. The third one is basically environmental problem is matters. Environment itself is matters nowadays. Climate change, water pollution, drive of biodiversity, like deforestation, illegal wildlife trade, which happen a lot anywhere in the world, may increase the kind of COVID-19 risk of further pandemics, such as vector-borne disease, waterborne infection things. I would like to add some of my personal things, especially risk increase. Well, since COVID-19, since there are a lot of unpacked, no contact consumption, we found a considerable worrying increased use of plastics, like packaging things, PPE, which is basically plastic things, that's because of unpacked way of consumption and production. And finally, I point out again, rivers. It could be rivers. There is strong possibility of rivers depending on the way of recovering packages. The world was quieter because of COVID-19, but in most countries, those changes can be easily reversed as depending on the way of recovery. So once the pandemic eases, full pressure on the environment will resume depending on what we choose. And finally, what we have to do? First of all, we have to be smart. We have to be effective. Let's find and apply effective responses to COVID-19 and environmental crisis. It should be global, basically, since COVID-19 is a global phenomenon, and it should be based on solidarity, compassion, and respect of human dignity and ecological integrity. The second is we have to work together. It's not just done by yourself. We have to work together, cooperate, collaborate, especially government, international partners, civil society, NGO, and activity and private sector, and all individuals, including me and our honorable listeners on here. So, that thing, to do so, we can achieve sustainable development which equitably meets the needs of present and future generation. And next one is keep standards. Do not roll back the existing environmental standard, because we have some kind of temptation to get the environment standards down, since our economy is not as good as before. But we have to keep a certain or minimum level of environment standards for a while. Finally, we need to put some money, especially government, to put some money in investment especially in public health. And my final and not the least important one is we have to rethink after we learned from COVID-19 crisis. We have to rethink that our economic activity and our way of life should be environmentally sound. So the economic activity should be in the environment sound and friendly. I want to stop here. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to share my idea with you. And please be healthy and stay healthy forever. Thanks a lot. Bye.